Video, this is King Black, and the title of this video, Student Debt. If you have it, make sure to pay that off first. If you're one of the hundreds of thousands of current or former students out there that have student loan debt, at the time that you get it, you feel like it's free money because most of the time they give it to you that is backed by the federal government. If you're not taking out a private loan from a bank, if you're getting the federal student loans, it's being subsidized by the government, meaning that the interest on the loan is being paid for you while you are studying. Usually after you graduate, there is a 6-month grace period where they continue to pay the interest on the loan. And this is the period of time where they expect you to be finding a job so you can start paying your student loan back. At the end of this grace period, you will receive a notification that you will basically have to start making payments on that loan. And I highly recommend that if you are in the grace period right now, or you're about to go through the grace period after graduating or quitting school, is that you start making little payments. Because since the government, if you have a subsidized student loan, since the government is paying the interest for you, any payments you contribute during this grace period is being applied to the principal. So you help lower down the total amount of the loan you owe, as well as you cut down the interest dollars you're going to have to pay when you start having to make those payments. Second rule, try to not take out more than you actually need. Some of these schools give you almost unlimited cap, up to whatever the yearly cap is set forth by the federal government. So let's say, for example, you're a sophomore in college and the max you can take out in student loans is $9,000. But because of grants, the Pell Grant, and any other kind of grants or any other subsidies you might get, you don't really have a balance of tuition, or maybe you only have $1,000 balance on tuition you have to pay. Don't go ahead and try to get the full $9,000 and then spend it on foolishness like Burger King, PlayStation, games, or car rims. All of it seems free in the moment. But let's say you get $9,000 in sophomore year. The cap rises the closer you are to graduation, so you become a junior. They might raise the cap to $11,000 for the year. You withdraw the full amount, you can get $11,000. Then when you're a senior, $15,000. Let's just say, for example. So already in those 3 years, not including whatever you can get as a freshman, you have over $20,000 worth of debt. And the interest that is being charged on it after the grace period is over is compounded daily. So you can quickly find yourself drowning in this debt if you don't make the payments, which if you make the minimum, you're basically mostly paying interest first. And then whatever's left over, maybe $20 is going towards the principal. So let's say the minimum monthly payment is $70 on a $20,000 loan debt. Having only $20 being applied to the principal of a monthly payment of maybe $100, $150, you're chipping away at this debt little by little. And it's very tempting not to pay, but don't do this, because if you don't pay, the government will get its money back since these federal loans are backed by the government. It's not like if you get a student loan from a bank where they usually require a cosigner or some kind of collateral, a car or house. So if you default on a student loan from a private entity like a bank, and you put your car up as collateral, guess what? They're going to come repo your car. If you have a parent or grandparents or somebody else co-sign the loan for you, they're going to go towards them for payment. And it isn't fun, if your mother or your dad or your grandparents or your uncles and aunts are getting phone calls, harassing phone calls that you're defaulting on your loan, that you're way behind. And throughout this whole time, the interest doesn't stop accumulating, it keeps accumulating. Even if you can't afford to make the minimum monthly payment, it is best to be honest with your loan provider. Give them a call before the grace period ends, so that way you can work out some kind of repayment plan. There are a few options available to achieve this. They do have an income-driven repayment plan where based on the income you have per month and based on the expenses you have monthly, utilities, rent, your car payment, insurance payment, they take all of this into account and see how much you can afford to pay back per month. And let's say that one month they lower down your hours from 40 hours a week down to 30 hours a week. Well, then that month they will recalculate, and the amount you had to pay that month will be slightly lower. They can change the date of the month in which you make your minimum monthly payment. Let's say you don't get paid until the end of the month, but before they were having it, they had to pay at the beginning of the month, where you had basically no money left over to pay because you were paying your bills. Well, you can have them reschedule the payment date so that way it falls right after you get paid. You can have it automatically deducted from your bank account, so you don't even have to worry about it. The minimum monthly payment is automatically deducted if you choose to go that route. But you should never default, because sooner or later the U.S. government will get their money back. And whether you believe it or not, if you make it to retirement age and you have to draw Social Security, guess what? You're going to take that money out of Social Security first. So you're going to be 65, 68 years old getting your checks garnished by the U.S. government to pay back your loans. And another reason why you shouldn't default is that it affects the university where you studied. Each university has statistics on how many students have defaulted on their student loans. And if they reach a certain point, or a certain percentage of total defaults, I think right now it's 25%. 25% of students who have graduated fall into default and don't make their payments. The federal government stops federal funding for that school. So future students, your kids, your grandkids, may not be able to rely on getting the Pell Grant or getting a federal subsidized loan or a federal unsubsidized loan, which means the government will give it to you, but the interest starts accumulating from the date that they disperse that loan. So student loan hangs over your head worse than credit card debt, and where it hangs over your head worse than being behind on your car payments. So you have to make sure that you work with your lenders to fit your budget. Think smart, think ahead, think maturely, use common sense, and live to see another day. Also, side note, if you don't have life insurance already, you should think about getting a life insurance plan. I'm not saying that you should plan on dying anytime soon, but in this crazy life of ours, anything can happen any day. And if you happen to leave this world with student loan debt, guess who that debt falls over to? The co-signer of the loan. And that's something that you don't want your parents to go through after losing you, is getting a phone call saying, we're sorry for your loss, but this debt has to be collected from you now. And you're already gone, so you can't care what happens. But you hurt the people that you leave behind. And it's not the kind of reminder or memory you want to leave behind. So think ahead. College, higher education is a beautiful thing. But you have to remember that all these loans aren't free money. And I have a family member who graduated within the past few years with over $30,000 worth of student loan debt. And there are people out there with a lot higher, especially those that go for a medical profession. It's not uncommon to have $60,000, $70,000 worth of debt, including those who go to law school as well. Even for small things such as technical schools, don't leave these debts outstanding, as eventually it will come around to bite you. Adios.